You know, we've all seen it happen. A friend, maybe a creator you follow, or some public figure. They're all over your feed one day and then poof, gone the next. Just a deleted account, a blank profile. Well, today we're going to get into the really fascinating psychology behind why people choose to just disappear from the digital world.
It's a question that probably pops into your head every time, right? You go to search for someone and you find nothing. An account that doesn't exist anymore. What makes a person hit that delete button and just vanish into thin air? Well, it turns out the answer is way more complex, and honestly, a lot more powerful than you might think.
Okay, so let's dive right in, and we're going to start with the biggest misconception out there, what I like to call the social ghosting myth. It's the story we almost automatically tell ourselves about why someone would leave.
And that story usually goes something like this, right? We think, oh, they must be antisocial, or they're rejecting their friends, they're hiding, they just can't handle the pressure. It almost always gets framed as something negative, a retreat, a sign of weakness. But what if that entire assumption is completely backward? Because when you actually look into the psychology of it, stepping away from social media isn't a sign of weakness at all. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's a profound sign of strength.
I mean, this just flips the whole script. The common myth, the story we tell ourselves, is that it's antisocial behavior. But the reality, psychologically, it's often an act of immense emotional strength. Think about it. Choosing to unplug in a world that is always on, always demanding your attention, that takes a level of self-awareness and conviction that is anything but weak.
And this gets right to the heart of the matter. It's captured perfectly in this quote. It's about ownership of your story, not the audience for it. That is the fundamental shift in mindset right there. It's about moving away from performing for an audience and moving toward living for yourself. It's about reclaiming the pen to write your own life story. So, what do we call the people who make this choice? Well, they belong to this really fascinating group that psychologists are starting to call the comfortably unknown. And no, it's not about being a hermit or hiding from the world. It's about finding a sense of peace outside of the constant digital spotlight. So let's break down who these people really are.
First up, you have the privacy-oriented. Now, these are the folks who consciously decide what parts of their life are public and what parts are private. This isn't about being secretive, it's about having sovereignty over their personal information. You could say they're the deliberate architects of their own digital footprint.
Then, you've got the comparison-resistant. These are the individuals who recognize that endless, exhausting treadmill of social comparison, the likes, the followers, the perfectly curated lives, and they just choose to step off. It's not that they're antisocial, they're pro-mental health. They're actively resisting a system that so often just fuels anxiety and self-doubt.
So what happens when you combine being privacy-oriented with being comparison-resistant? Well, you don't just disappear, you actually evolve into a new, really empowered kind of identity.
And the ultimate goal here is to become a narrative controller. I absolutely love this term because it's so active, so powerful. See, it's not about disappearing at all. It's about taking firm, conscious control of your own story. You get to decide the plot. You pick the characters. And most importantly, you choose the audience.
So what does a narrative controller actually look like? Well, for starters, they value ownership over their own story. We've seen that. They prioritize real, messy, personal authenticity over some perfectly curated online persona. They consciously reject that need for external validation from likes and comments. And maybe the most important thing of all, they define success and happiness completely on their own terms, not by the metrics of some algorithm.
And all of this leads us to a really powerful conclusion. It's about completely reframing this entire act, not as an escape, but as an assertion of your own personal freedom.
So the most crucial takeaway is this. Disappearing from social media isn't about hiding from the world. It's about choosing how you want to exist in it. It is the ultimate act of curation. You are choosing what to reveal and to whom completely on your own terms. It's really a powerful declaration of self-worth in a world that is constantly asking you to prove it.
Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In a world that constantly shouts for your attention, for your content, for your reaction, what kind of power is there in choosing silence?